are in the 2024 LTAC funding workshop. We're here in person in Fruitland today, and we've got virtual meetings, so we've got some folks online. For those online participants, please make sure that you remain muted and cameras off for the sake of bandwidth. Questions and comments, we've got the chat and Q&A open. So if you want to put those comments in there, they'll be monitored. And this workshop will be recorded, but don't let that discourage you from asking questions. Chuckle from the crowd. Those of us that are here today from LTAC, my name is Megan Couts. I'm the construction engineering and LRIP manager at LTAC. We've got
Kevin Truther, I'm the federal aid manager at LTAC.
Scott Wood, a federal aid engineer. And I'm Mike Cram, the administrative manager of LTAC.
And I'm Brody, I'm the communications officer. I'm just helping with tech today.
just helping with tech, no small feat. We're gonna follow suit and get our camera shut off also. If anybody online has any problems with audio or seeing the presentation, please make sure and let us know. To run through the agenda, let me get the lines caught up here. First, we're going to cover LTAC news. Then I'm going to talk about the LRIP, or the Local Rural Highway Investment Program. Kevin's going to run through the federal aid programs. Scott Wood is going to talk about the Leading Idaho Local Bridge Program and technical assistance. And then Mike's going to finish off with local reporting, T2, and technical assistance. You'll notice a little bit of a pattern today. First, with LTAC news, who we are and what we do. So we work for you as the local highway jurisdictions of Idaho. So we have 287 bosses across the state, jurisdictions with road and bridge authority. We provide things like these annual workshops across the state. We facilitate project funding. We help with administration of oversight of that funding. We have a T2 training program, an equipment loaner program, and technical assistance. So we've noticed this year traveling the state, everybody's really clear on when you need funding, you call LTAC. Maybe a little bit of forgetting that we also have a technical assistance arm. So we have a varied background at LTAC, tons of engineers. And Mike will talk about a little bit later. We now have staff with background in maintenance and operations, so we can help you there now too. We are governed by a council of 9 spread throughout the state. That's 3 elected officials from cities, 3 from counties, and 3 from highway districts. We are headquartered in Boise, but the hope with our council being across the state is that everybody is being represented. We, again, try to facilitate funding, both federal and state funding. So in our safety program, we have $11 million annually. Small urban, $5 million. Rural, $19 million. Between the bridge programs, local and off system, $18 million. Transportation alternatives, $8 million. And recently, access to grants and other federal funds that we don't administer. So we have staff on site that can help you fill out grant applications at the federal level. So if there's a project that you just have not been able to get funded, let us know. We can check federal opportunities and help you with those applications. For state funding, we have the LRIP program, that's $4 million annually. And the next 2, you'll see the asterisks. That's because these 2 are not ongoing funding. So the Leading Idaho Local Bridge Program started with about $564 million. We're down to about $200 million in that program. Children pedestrian safety, again, not funded this year. So the $10 million that you see is from last year. Any LTAC questions before I move on? So for our LRIP grant program, these grants come from $5 million in federal aid rural funds that we exchange with ITD for state funds. They give us that exchange at 80 cents on the dollar. So we give them $5 million federal, they give us $4 million in state funds. What we can then do with those state funds is simply cut you a check and let you go do your thing, right? No federal aid red tape with this grant program. So obviously this is one of our more popular programs. What's that one called? This is called the LRIP, or the Local Rural Highway Investment Program. So this funding is open to rural jurisdictions only. So outside of the urban boundaries, jurisdictions must be collecting taxes or have alternate sources of funding. These funds cannot be used for your employee wages or towards equipment that you already own. So you can hire a contractor, you can procure materials, you can rent equipment with this program. These funds cannot be used to pay consultants with one exception. I saw a consultant in the back perk up. If you're funded for a transportation plan, we would expect you to hire a consultant to complete that plan for you. And then of course, state procurement rules must be followed. There's 4 eligible uses of these funds. The first and most popular is construction projects. So you can apply for up to $100,000 towards a road or bridge project. These funds account for about 75% of this grant program. These funds cannot be used for primarily drainage or pedestrian facilities. So if you applied for just sidewalks under this program, you wouldn't be considered. But if you apply for roadway improvement that has sidewalks, that's fine. So in your application, just really make sure that you're focusing on the road or bridge work that you're doing. A subset of the construction application is federal aid match. So if you have a federal aid project that requires match, you can apply for up to $100,000 towards your match funds. The project already has to be awarded to you, and it needs to be within 2 years of construction. One caveat with the construction projects, you can't be awarded 2 years in a row for construction. So if you were awarded construction last year, you'll go on the hiatus list for this year. That being said, you can apply for the other categories of LRIP funding, like signs. This is close to where we're at. Weiser Valley Highway District was awarded funds last grant cycle. You can apply for up to $30,000 towards warning, regulatory signs, and pavement markings. I get asked a lot if you can apply for signs that are not warning or regulatory. That's okay. Just keep in mind your score depends on the percentage of warning and regulatory signs you apply for. So if you apply for 100% of those, you'll get 100% of the points. If 50% of your application is warning and regulatory, you'll get half the points. So if you're willing to take that risk, this is a good place to do it. We typically get few enough sign applications that the last few years we've been able to fund all of them. Transportation plans. Again, this is where we would rely on our consultant friends to complete these plans for us. Transportation plans are a really important part of your LRIP scoring in general. So if you're just getting started in this program, this is a really good place to start. We fund new plans up to $50,000. So that means your jurisdiction has never, ever had a plan. We fund updates up to $30,000. So if your plan is 10 years or older, we would fund a plan update. The last use of these funds, emergencies. This application is a little bit different. It's open year round. So when your emergency happens, reach out, we'll get an application processed. You can apply for up to $100,000 towards a road or bridge emergency. It needs to be active. We can't mitigate emergencies, so it needs to have already happened. These funds cannot be used for projects that become necessary due to lack of maintenance. So if you have a pipe that you just let rot for 15 years and it fails, we wouldn't fund replacement of that, right? We need to see that you're actively maintaining your system and trying to mitigate these kinds of things. So it's really important in your application that you're able to point to the one emergency that happened that caused this, right? So most often that's a storm. In this case, it was a really, really overloaded truck. Apply. So our fiscal year 26 application is available now on our website. If you navigate to programs on the top, LRIP down in the bottom right. Right there in the center is our fiscal year 26 application package. That's the entire package. So that's all of the applications that we just talked about. If you know which application you want, we've got them broken out. Construction, federally, transportation plans. I would encourage you to pull the single application. It's a lot more manageable. A couple lists at the bottom that are important. If you're not sure if you're classified as a rural jurisdiction, we have a list that will tell you that. The other list that's important is the construction hiatus list. So if you're not sure if you're eligible for a construction grant, that'll be at the bottom of this page. A few things that are new this year in the application you'll notice. So we have always asked for letters of support in your application. The one thing we were historically not specific on is that those letters need to be signed. So what we started to see more and more is the same letter 3 times with a different name typed into the bottom of each of them. So those won't be accepted anymore. We need your letters of support to be signed. I would also encourage you, If those three letters can be unique to each other, that goes a long way. So if the letters read a little bit different, scorers really appreciate that. T2 credit. So you've always gotten credit for your staff's level of achievement in the T2 program. What we used to ask for is for you to tell us what your staff had achieved. Tell us who you have for Road Scholars, who you have for Road Masters. That turned into a little bit of a lift for some folks. So what we're doing this year is we're asking you to just give us a list of your full-time road and bridge staff. We'll figure out what they've achieved. You received points for the last year that you received funding from LTAC. So the longer it's been, the more points that you get. What wasn't clear in the past is what year we were asking for. Were we asking for the application year, for the construction year, for the design year? So we've clarified, we need to know the last application year that you received funding from LTAC. And then this is not new this year, but it's important this year. So in fiscal year 22, our council implemented a policy that these funds have to be spent within 3 years. So the fiscal year 22 cycle hit its deadline October 1st of this year. So our council can actually ask you for funds back if you haven't spent all of your funds. They can allow you to no longer apply for LRIP until your projects are closed out. The other piece of that is if you need an extension, historically, you could shoot me an email and I could give you an extension. I can't do that anymore. So the way extensions are processed now, I need a formal letter from your council or commission that I then take to our council and they make the decision on extensions. So timelines have become really, really important in this program. And if you have a grant in fiscal year 22, you have heard from me already. If you have one in fiscal year 23 that's not closed, you'll start hearing from us soon. A few tips. This seems silly, but every year we see it. Answer every question. It's a really big deal to your scoring if you leave questions blank. And if you leave a question blank, that's an automatic 0, right? Even if you don't think that you have a good answer, put something in there and let scorers decide if they want to give you a few points. And if you need help with questions that you don't feel like you have a good answer on, give me a call. I've got some ideas for you. Use us as a resource. This kind of dovetails into the last one. I am happy to go over your application with you, give you tips, tricks, suggestions. I think I've got 2 jurisdictions that use that throughout the year. I would really encourage you to send that through me if you're looking for some feedback. Again, quality signed letters of support. Put a little bit of effort into those letters. Update your pavement and sign management inventory. So I know a lot of you have a really large inventory. So we're not looking for that entire inventory to be updated every year. You can just go update some of it. So as long as the reviewer can see that there's some sections or some signed sections updated in your inventory with a current date, that's all you need. And then get involved. Involvement in your multi-jurisdictional groups is really important. Project closeout. A lot of the same and one thing new. So we ask for before and after pictures so we can show off your projects and presentations like this throughout the state. What's new in the last couple of years is we need proof of grant expenditure. So we need proof that you have spent that entire grant. So that might be invoices, that might be checks. The thing that I would caution you on is before you send me invoices, make sure they total your grant total, right? If we gave you $100,000 and you send me invoices for $75,000, I'm going to say, I'd like my $25,000 back, right? So make sure your invoices total your grant value. If you get to the end of your project and you have a little bit of money left, before you send it back to us, give me a call. Sometimes there's things we can do to get that last little bit of money spent. We need a project document summary. That's the document to the right, signed by your mayor or chairman. And again, just to drive it home, projects must be completed in 3 years. So this upcoming year's grant cycle, the fiscal year 26 money will have to be spent by September 30th of 2028. And again, formal extensions are required if you need more than 3 years. Fiscal year 25 was last year's grant cycle. If you had a grant in that cycle and you're ready for those funds, those are available. So shoot me an email, we can get your check cut. Again, the fiscal year 26 application is posted now on our website. Those are due December 5th, 3 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Mountain. That's in the LTAC office time. If you're going to mail your application, December 5th is your required postmark date. every year, I really encourage you to keep the receipt from whatever posting service you use, because there's definitely been times where the package is not posted the day you're standing in the post office. So if you mailed it on the 5th, but the postmark's on the 6th when it shows up in our office, we're gonna ask you for that receipt to show us you were standing in the post office on the 5th. In March of 2025, fiscal year 26 scores will be posted and notifications will be made. And then this time next year is when these funds become available. So a little bit of a delay in these funds. That's LRIP. Any questions? Okay,
I want one question for you.
great, thanks.
I'm Kevin Kuther, and we're gonna talk about the exciting world of federal aid. So a little summary, we're gonna talk about the things we do at LTAC for the federal aid program and how we administer that at first here. So it's for design and construction of federal funded projects. Our role is we have a stewardship agreement with ITD to administer federal aid. So there are 3 entities in the state, that is LTAC, ITD, and Ada County Highway District that can administer federal aid in state Idaho. We sponsor project applications, which is what we're doing now, right? So we have the applications out posted out on our website, and then we're coming here to tell you about those applications. Everything that we do is done with the help of consultants. So we have consultants for design and we have consultants for CE&I at the end of during construction. These funds do have a 7.34% match, with the exception being off-system bridge is 100% federally funded, and there are certain safety projects that we can fund at 100% also. So yes, there's a lot of hoops that you jump through for federal aid, but it's also at 7.34% of local match. So the 3 first programs that we're going to talk about, we kind of lump those together as the group of federal aid. It's rural, which is counties, highway districts, and cities less than 5,000 in population are eligible for a rural application. We have a small urban program, which is cities between 5,000 and 50,000, and that is inside of a boundary designated by the census and FHWA. LTAC does not make those boundaries. There's a process that goes through, and I think that process was just recently approved by ITD. So those are the boundaries that exist until the next census goes out. And then bridge. So counties, highway districts, and cities are eligible for bridge. Like I said, there are some strings and there are hoops that you have to jump through for federal aid. As an average, we are looking at just around 7 years between the year you apply and the year construction starts. It's in a 7-year program, but it's a finite amount of money, and we're trying to make sure everybody gets their funding, and that usually means a lot of shifting and jogging has to happen in that process of that project's life. So every one of our applications asks, do you have a Title VI plan, and who is the contact? So ITD that's LTAC's responsibility, or our role. We ask if you have it. You as the local has to have a Title VI plan. So ITD has asked us to give you a kind of a high level presentation here on requirements for Title VI. I'll give you some more information here as we go through it. So Title VI is part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. It's for the non-discrimination in federally assisted programs and activities. The federal government will go through and clarify things as they go, right? So 1964, that wasn't clear enough. So they kind of clarified in 1987 what that meant for programs and activities. So Title VI is to ensure that recipients of federal financial assistance do not discriminate on the basis of race, color, or national origin in their programs and activities. So the subrecipients of federal aid, in this case administered by LTAC, is you, the locals. So this is the counties, cities, highway districts, and MPOs. So that is the breadth of my knowledge on Title VI. So ITD has it on their webpage. You can go download checklist for everything that's required to have a compliant Title VI plan. They will be at the Local Roads Convention in November up in Coeur d'Alene, giving a more in-depth presentation than what I just gave you right here. So that's on the 13th of November at 2:30. And if you have questions in the interim, or even after that date, Tawny Rosine with ITD is the Title VI civil rights contact. So, this is her information. Like I said, this will be posted, this slide deck will be posted on our website after this, and then a recording also, if you need that information. But if you didn't catch it, you can call us at any time. I will get you that information again, so. Yo,
So for the most part, if you have an existing Title VI plan, are they okay? Are they going through and looking to see if there are any gaps?
I don't have the answer to that. I think Connie is now doing a more kind of in-depth dive into making sure that it's current. But yeah, our role is just to ask if you have it. You can go through that checklist and that's on the website and figure out, like, do you have these things? And then if you have questions about that, I'd contact Connie just to make sure. The first application we're gonna talk about is the rural program. It is used for new construction, reconstruction, rehabs, overlays, chip seals of functionally classified roadways. So you can go on our maps, any GIS map that we have, and you can toggle on the functionally classified roadways in your jurisdiction, so you'll know what that is. It's a major collector or above would be this the rule of thumb. There's a little bit of money out there for minor collectors also, but there's about $18 million annually in this program, and that's after the 5 million comes off to go to the LRIP program. We typically solicit applications every other year. We did not do it last year, so this year we'll have an application. And I'll hit you with the deadline a couple of times throughout these slides, but it is hand delivered or postmarked by January 9th at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Yeah, I'll hit you with that again before this is all over. So we made some changes to the application this year with the approval of council. So this year it targets a total project cost of $3 million. So in the past, it said 2 million for construction. So this year we changed that so it removes confusion. It's $3 million of total project cost request is the max, but you can actually go up to a request of $5 million. You're gonna take a 1 point deduction for every $200,000 over the 3 million. So, and that's a total deduction. I know it gets confusing. I saw it. So long story short is if you applied for $5 million, you're gonna take a 10-point hit off your application. So, and that is a total. So each application is scored as a total of 72, but that's scored by 5 people. So the scores that you will see is a cumulative score from everybody that has reviewed the application. I know it gets kind of confusing when you see it and it's got a score of like 250, but there's only 72 points available. So how did that happen? That's how that happens. So you will get if you did the 5 million, you'd get a 10-point deduction from each score. The local sponsor may provide funds above that 5 million, but you have to tell us where it's coming from. There has to be a clear plan of where that additional funding is coming from. We get a lot of applications that'll say something like, we're gonna go look for LTAC, more funding from LTAC. Well, I need a clearly defined plan for where that additional funding is coming from. No in-kind work is permitted, and the project cost data, we want backup for that. So just prove to us where your numbers came from. It's used to be like, just get it in the program and LTAC will fund the rest of it. But those asks are getting much larger than they have ever been in my career, right? Because costs of everything are going way up, including the cost of even the designs. Design costs have risen just as fast as construction costs. So just show me something that proves where you got your numbers. Like it can be ITD's bid averages. It could be some project that you locally bid, something that just backs it up. Because like I said, it does us no good to put something in there without unrealistic expectations of what can be accomplished for the number you're asking for. Some tricks for this one. The project description has the highest point value on the application. So sell the application, sell the project to somebody who's not from here. Like Megan showed the map of where our council members reside. So somebody might not have ever been to the greater Fruitland Metroplex and wants to, then you sell them that project, tell them why it's important to your community. Read the suggested scoring. We want you to have this money and we give you all of the outline of how to fill the application out to get the maximum points available for you. So yeah, it's not like we're trying to be tricky or hide anything. It's all there in black and white that you can figure out how to get the most points. Involvement in a multi-jurisdictional transportation group in coordination with others gives you the maximum points on those questions. A pavement and sign management program that's active and current gives you the maximum amount of points on the application. And then it's, if the project is supported in the transportation plan or the capital improvement plan, you get the maximum amount of points. Any questions on that? Mohammed Zubri is the program lead for the rural program at LTAC. If you have questions, you can get a hold of him. But again, the message will be the same. Call any of us. We will be able to answer anything you got, or we'll get you the right person to answer those questions. So again, the application deadline is January 9 at 4 p.m. Mountain. We need 3 copies plus the signed original that's submitted with that. The reason for that is the administrative burden of if we get 50 applications in and we have to make 3 copies of everything to get them in the mail, to get them out to the council to score for their Christmas presents. That's just a lot. So if you guys could just give us 3 copies, we'll put them in the right boxes and we'll get them in the mail and get them out to people. So the next federal aid program we're going to talk a little bit about is the small urban program. So the eligibility for this one is cities between 5,000 and 50,000. Yes,
We did have a question.
I'm ready.
Signed original contract, are we electronically signed copies okay?
The copies are okay to have, but I would prefer a wet seal or wet stamp on the actual original that we're calling the original.
Okay.
If that becomes a problem, give us a call. We'll talk about it.
A question in my presentation about keeping a receipt at the post office. You don't need to mail that receipt to us. I would just encourage you to keep that receipt just in case the postmark ends up being late.
The small urban program, like I said, I told you who was eligible for this one. We had applications, we accepted applications last year for this program, so we are not gonna have a small urban application this year. Federal aid bridge, so that includes local bridge and off-system bridge. We also had applications for the bridge program last year, so we are not gonna have applications this year for bridge. But if you're looking for bridge funding, there's hope, and we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. Scott's gonna give you some hope. Any questions on those? We kind of, like I said, we kind of lumped those together as the federal aid programs. The safety program that we're gonna talk about next is also federal aid, but it's just got a little bit of different requirements and different strengths to it.
Okay, Kevin, just to clarify, so no federal aid small urban.
No federal aid small urban this year. So to give you like again, the inner workings, the delay by having an application 1 year versus the next is never realized, to be honest, right? Because it's a 7-year federal aid program. So when I take the application in, if I took it this year, you're probably gonna get funded in the same year you would get funded if I take it next year. It won't be instantaneous. It would still be out in a program either way. It's just, we have to try to clear things out, make sure everybody gets their project out there or constructed, so we have room in the program to accept more applications.
What size application do you want smaller?
Same criteria, 3 million is what we're kind of shooting for. The program itself has about $4.2 million annually, so you put a lot of eggs in your basket when you have $3.5 million of the 4 in one project to just go out. So that's kind of why that is that way. Any more? Yeah,
How many years has this program been in place?
the small urban or
Rural.
LTAC's been in existence since '94. So each transportation bill changes the actual names of everything, but the federal aid programs themselves have been around since at least then, to the local, available to the locals.
Do they have an annual increase or?
No, that's the problem, right? So the cost of everything is increasing, but the amount of money available is finite. And it changes a little, right? So we had a new transportation bill that was passed and it tweaked those numbers a little. It didn't match the cost increases, but that's kind of in a nutshell. Yep. Okay, so like I said, this is the safety program. It's still federal aid, a little bit different. To give you kind of a snapshot, the other programs take about 1 years, about a little over 7 years to get from application to construction. Typically in safety, that number is a little under 2 years between application year and construction year. So a little overview, this is a shared program between the state and the locals. So the safety funding is about $22 million annually. The locals are eligible for $11 million of that. To qualify, you have to have experienced a fatal or serious injury crash in the last 5 years. Unlike the rural application where it was just classified roadways, all public roadways are eligible for this funding. It's 100% data driven, the scoring. So you're going to have an Excel spreadsheet that calculates a cost benefit ratio. Whatever that number is, that's what the score is. I need a description of what you're going to do, but it's not scored. The application deadline for this one is January 23rd at 4 o'clock. This is an electronic submittal. So there's an email address that you'll send this to. Again, it's because it's scored, the way it's scored, it's just scored with that data. We don't have to go out and review all that. So I'll hit you with that one again too at the end of the application deadline. So some highlights, that you have to have experienced at least one qualifying crash. So that's a fatal or serious injury crash in the last 5 years. So the window for this year with the data we have is 2019 through 2023. You have to select a countermeasure that addresses the crash. So the contributing circumstance to the crash, there's anything that's ever been researched about how to reduce that crash is available. We have information on our website. You can go to FHWA's website. All of that information's out there. So anything that's ever been researched about how to reduce roadway departure crashes or intersection related crashes, that information's out there. And if you have questions, by all means, get a hold of me. We'll help you figure out something. This is a limit of $2 million in federal aid per application year. So you can apply for more than the 2 million. Like if the local wanted to contribute another $1 million for a $3 million project, you just have to calculate the cost benefit ratio based on the total project cost. So the application is, again, a little more simplified than the other ones we talked about, or the rural one specifically, but you just have the request. You need to provide a cost backup. Again, tell me a little bit of proof of why you think the project cost is going to be $1 million or 700,000 or whatever it is, whatever you're applying for. So provide us some backup. You need a right-of-way certificate. Right-of-way is eligible in safety to purchase right-of-way for a safety project. It's just keep in mind that increases the duration because it takes a long time to acquire right-of-way using the federal aid process. So can't design that thing and get it constructed real fast when we're out there trying to acquire the right-of-way for it. And then the worksheet. And I'll show you what that worksheet looks like here at the end. So I'll give you a little bit of some information. This is the current statistics that we had up to 2023. So there were 242 fatal crashes in the state of Idaho. 99 of those occurred on the local road system. And if you look at the trends, right, the statewide trends for the local system over the last 5 years, those numbers are staying pretty consistent. So there's still a lot of work that we could do out there to get this safety dollars out and make some improvements. So this is a list of jurisdictions in District 3 that are eligible for safety funding this year. And if you, yeah, so is there anybody from not District 3 in the room? Like, again, if you're online, this list is available on the the slide deck that will be provided, so you can go through the list there too.
And that indicates that there was an injury crash in our
There's a
jurisdiction.
qualifying crash in the last 5 years in that list of jurisdictions right there.
There are ways to research which crash that was.
We're gonna get there. Yep, there is. We have a new platform for the crash map this year. Matthew in our office developed what we used to have as this simple crash map. It was a custom made, Matthew made product. The platform in which it was put on was no longer supported, so we had to get something new. That new thing is not as easy as it used to be. So I'm gonna give you the real quick rundown on how to navigate the crash map. So you're gonna go to our website, you'll get the crash map under resources. You're gonna get something that looks like this. It'll have all the dots that represent all the crashes in the state of Idaho. You have to go up there to the layers, click that. Then you're gonna get a drop-down menu. This menu looks awesome, but it doesn't provide you all the information you need. So in order to get the menu to give you the options, you have to select something on the side. Once you do that, then you get the menu you need. So then you go to the secondary layers on there. And you are allowed to then select your attributes. So this is where you would select your local jurisdiction. You can select from the 287 and drop that down. The nice improvement to this though is you can select multiple jurisdictions. So if you wanted a community-wide type improvement and you're looking at trends throughout like an entire county or something like that, you can turn all of those crashes on at once. So in this case, we selected Wendell Highway District. The key to this is you continually have to make sure you hit the save and the check mark. So once you have those all selected, and I selected Wendell Highway District in the example that's on the screen, then it'll zoom in and show you just the crashes in the jurisdiction that you've asked for. So again, you have to make sure you hit the save button, because if you hit the back button, it'll give you a warning that says you have unsaved information. Do you want to save it? If you don't save it there, when you hit that button, you're going to have to start all over again. So make sure you hit the save button back, and then you can come down and select what you're looking for. So it'll then say you can select by severities, you can select by contributing circumstance, you can select by locations, you can do the things you want it. If you're trying to kind of pare down what it is you're looking for and what improvement you're looking for. Then you're gonna go and hit that attributes table, and it'll let you select by the crashes. Like if you're looking for a specific roadway, you can then select everything. If you, in this case, I selected rectangle. So you're gonna take a rectangle and you'll draw the rectangle around the crashes that you were interested in. And it'll show you all the characteristics of those crashes that you're looking for. And you can sort this, you can download this Excel to a CSV file. You have a lot more capabilities. It's just a little more cumbersome than it used to be. So once you have all your data, you're gonna go, yes,
Oh,
Mr. Walker.
quick question. Yeah, am I remembering correctly that for LSIP, you guys actually invite the entity to apply? No, that's not the case.
No, we will, typically what we do is, so that list that I showed from, those people are eligible to, those jurisdictions are eligible to apply. We don't necessarily
You don't
invite
actually
them.
solicit one.
No, we don't. Yeah, anybody is eligible, but we hit like, say, end of November, December timeframe. We hand out a list of all the eligible jurisdictions to the LTAC staff, and then we start making phone calls and say, look, you have a qualifying crash. Think about getting this in, so.
Thank you.
Okay, so you have all your information. This is what the spreadsheet will look like. You're gonna select the project, and you can use single site or systemic, meaning if for a systemic improvement, it would be, the example I'll give you is, you had a crash at a two-way stop controlled intersection, but your jurisdiction has 20 of those with all similar characteristics. You can apply to improve all of those. The difference is you have to monitor that cost benefit ratio, right? Because the more improvement with the crashes, you have to kind of look at that number. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the number will be. Last year, I believe it was around 17-1. So anything above a 17-1 got funded, but I don't have any way of telling you that's what it'll be this year. You just have to look at that. So you plug in your crashes, your improvement, then you're going to put in your total project cost, the countermeasure you're asking for, and it will start to calculate as soon as you put in the service life. So the service life is like typical hardscape improvements, that's 20-year service life. Like a red stop sign in a sunny intersection, that might last 5 years. Red stop signs, or just stop signs, I guess they're all red, I don't have to specify that. Red signs in general, that sheeting doesn't last very long in direct sunlight. So you're gonna put all that information in, and it'll calculate a cost benefit ratio. You're allowed to put multiple countermeasures in there. Just the truth behind the math is it stops giving additional credit after 60%. It gives you a maximum of a 60% reduction in crashes. So all the improvements that you put in there, like off the top of my head, if you said you're gonna put in a roundabout has about a 70% reduction in certain types of crashes. So just that one improvement puts you over the 60, so it'll just stop giving you credit at 60%. We ask for an 1150 form, an ITD 1150 form, which is the cost estimate. We review those cost estimates for accuracy, because like I said, it doesn't help the program. The program, to be successful, has to have accurate information in there for the cost of the project, because it's a finite amount of money. And when we miss, that money has to come from that finite amount. So that means that for every time there's a miss and we have to find the money, something else has to get postponed or delayed. So we go through the list, the cost summary, and check it for kind of validity or accuracy. It's a pretty high level check. We will let you know if we made changes to your cost estimate, what those were, and what kind of options you have for that cost estimate increase. We wouldn't submit that to the council for approval without talking to the local first, if we made changes to your application. The big one. Second time I'm hammering it home here, January 23rd at 4 p.m. electronic submittals. They are submitted via email to applications@ltech.org. There should be an automatic reply that you get from that submittal, but I would, on that date, call somebody too. If you didn't get it, you didn't get the reply that says we received your application, definitely call. We'll verify that we got it, or we'll give you something that says, yes, we have that. It's probably not a bad idea really for any of the applications you would submit. Like the mail-in ones, if you wait 2 or 3 days or something, you just give us a call saying, hey, did you get it? Brian Wright is the program lead for the safety program. So that's his contact information, which is the same phone number for all of us. And that's on purpose. You call, you're going to get somebody who wants to help you, right? So call any of us, but Brian is the program lead. Is there any questions on that?
About today is our Leading Idaho Local Bridge Program. How many of you in the room are familiar with this program? I think we have several jurisdictions with bridges in this program. That's great. Just going to give you a rundown, start from the beginning of this program. This program was started in about 2022. The goal of this program, it's a state-funded program, was to replace, repair, or remove local bridges. And that's just local bridges, not state bridges, not ITD bridges, so no state highways, no interstates. And these were to replace, repair, remove local bridges with posted weight restrictions or rated in poor condition. This is different from our other bridge programs because this one has no local match. Again, state program, so not federal. So there is some efficiencies we can have with this, a little bit less red tape, if you will. Definitely a project more geared for the local contractors and local consultants. We do have out-of-state folks, but they're just over the border for the pretty much. And these are projects that don't really fit in the federal aid. The federal aid program kind of has a sweet spot about $2 to $3 million. just the way that the scoring application works. This definitely runs the gamut of bridge sizes from small, medium, and large. Since it is state funded, we are definitely streamlining the environmental process. We're doing a lot of the work in-house and having different sub-consultants do that, a lot of our work. Our projects, they range from anything as small as 500,000 to over 20 million. And currently, we have about $564 million of state funds appropriated for this program. So it's a very large program for the state of Idaho. A little bit more history. The program, November 2021, we had 404 eligible bridges in the state. These are local bridges that were either poor or weight restricted. We launched the program in April of 22. At that time of our applications, we gave all the jurisdictions that had these eligible bridges, they could apply for half of their eligible bridges. So if you had 6 poor posted bridges, you could apply for 3. With that, we got 221 projects submitted, with 95% of the eligible jurisdictions submitting applications. Those bridge rankings were approved by our council in July of 22. So currently, like I said, there's 221 bridges in the program. Of the 221, 177 bridges are being replaced. 42 are currently in construction, and that number is growing every month. This number is reported from September 1st. We're putting out about 4, 5, 6 bids every month at this current rate for new bridges. Yeah, so 42 in construction. We have 135 in development right now, so that's 135 in design or permitting, or almost ready to go to bid. We have 26 bridges fully constructed. We have 4 bridges that actually just closed. Kind of unique situations where the bridge may have already been closed in the local jurisdiction, just didn't want to reopen it. Or it was, in one case, it was just rather expensive bridge to replace, and it was technically just a shortcut for a neighborhood. So working with that jurisdiction, we just closed that road, thus closing the bridge. So saved a lot of money. We have 9 repaired bridges and 5 in analysis of testing. These 14 bridges were just bridges that were fairly new and were poor or posted for some odd reason. And so we're doing additional analysis. We're doing repairs in these bridges instead of fully replacing them. Again, being financially responsible and not just replacing the bridge because it can't be repaired or tested. So with those 221 bridges in the program, we're expecting to spend about $364 million in funding. So keep that number in mind. And just to give you some examples, this is Sanders Road Bridge in Benoit County. The before picture on the left, after picture on the right. This was a pre-engineered steel bridge, went in rather quickly. I'm just going to cover all the districts. We're on the phone today. Campbell Loop Road, this is in District 2 for the South Lake Highway districts. Very similar type construction, but again, we were able to close down the road, do this one, get in and out pretty quick. Yes.
Maybe back a slide. New to the game. So the 221 bridges that are in the program, what designates whether they're in the program or not? Is it all ITD bridges on ITD roadways?
No, these are not ITD bridges. These are all local bridges.
Local bridges.
Correct.
So to be a local bridge, what constitutes, again, new guy, what constitutes it being eligible?
So pretty much whether it's in a city, county, or highway district jurisdiction, and not on an ITD state highway and not on the interstate.
Okay.
And over 20 feet, correct?
And over 20 feet in length. I'll get to that, but yeah, it has to be over 20 feet in length to be considered a bridge. All right, here's one in District 3, Golden Gate. I don't think we have anybody from Golden Gate here. This is Allendale Road, quick in and out over Canal. Mormon Road, this is in Camas County, in the Camas Prairie. Very decrepit timber bridge. This was our first bridge that got replaced in the program. Again, another pre-engineered steel bridge, went in very quickly. Camas County's done a lot of its bridge types with the GRS IBS foundations. And we don't just do small bridges. These are some bridges in District 5. King Lane is out to bid right now. The one on the bottom, the Weston over the Bear River, again, out to bid right now, getting a lot of interest from contractors on that one. That's down in southeast Idaho. And then Parkinson Road over Cub River in the city of Franklin, which I just learned the other day is the oldest city in the state of Idaho. And I think this bridge was built during that time period. Very old bridge, a lot of, you would think that small bridge you can get in and out pretty quick, but believe it or not, it had a lot of issues right away, had to work with right away, had to work with wetlands. There's an adjacent railroad track. We couldn't raise the grade, a lot of flooding issues, very interesting project. So they're not all slam dunks. We were at the beginning of the program hitting what we call the low hanging fruit, starting to get into the more larger projects. This is an interesting story, Commissionary, over Rainy Creek, City of Swan Valley in Bonneville County. City of Swan Valley is just east of Idaho Falls. This city has 2 bridges, both of them in extremely poor condition. ITD on the verge of closing these bridges. The city raised a special tax, raised a whopping $1,000 to replace these bridges. So luckily we got these in the program soon. Both their bridges ranked very high in the program, so we started these early, got these replaced. Boarded slab bridges with GRS foundations. I think everything worked out pretty well there. I've showed you a lot of smaller bridges. We do a lot of big bridges too. The one on the left, Canyon Road over the Coeur d'Alene River. We refer to this as the Cataldo Bridge because it is next to the Cataldo Mission. Speaking of oldest things in the state, the Cataldo Mission is the oldest building in the state. But this is next to 2 adjoining I-90 bridges that are currently under construction. And we're going to construct this one simultaneously as those are under construction, since this is not being used as a detour, hoping to save some money, and maybe that same contractor will bid on this one too. So again, a lot of environmental stuff on this one, historical truss, fish passage, levee walls, floodplains, you name it, that one had it. The one on the right, a lot of you in the room may be familiar with, Hexon Road over the Boise River, notice Parma Highway District, Canyon County. This bridge was closed about 3 years ago. Very well-used bridge for agricultural reasons and also to go to the local wildlife management area. This bridge was closed 3 years ago due to weight restrictions. We were able to get this one in the program. We started early. We had a bid opening for it last week, very good bids on it. So we're looking to go to construction next summer on this one. Very excited about that. Now, as I mentioned before, this program had $564 million obligated for it, and we are projected to only hit about $364 million with that first 200. That leaves about $200 million we may have as we get all the way through those first 221 applications. So with that being said, we are opening up for new applications right now. And just as a point of interest too, since we started this program 2.5 years ago, 37 more bridges have been added to the poor and posted list. So we started with 404 2.5 years ago. We've added 37 since then. So as you can see, if it weren't for this program, we just constantly add poor and posted bridges to our local highway system. We're expecting about 110 applications from this. This application cycle is going to be very similar. The application is going to be the same. The scoring is going to be the same. The only thing different is we're limited to just 2 applications per jurisdictions. Now, before you could do half of your eligible bridges. Now we're just limited to 2 applications per jurisdiction. Again, no changes to the current application. So if you did an application before, it's going to be exactly the same. And then applications will be due on December 12th, 2024, this year. I'll say that 3 times. Application scoring, just to go through this real quick, there's kind of 2 parts to the application. There's the technical analysis, which is stuff I will pull out of the inspection reports. Now, inspection reports are done by ITD, and it is for bridges only, and a bridge is defined as a structure over 20 feet in length. Okay, so small structures are not in this program. Anything under 20 feet is not in this program. So 75% of the score, I will pull the information right out of the inspection report. The other 25% will be what we call local knowledge. And I'll get into these a bit here more in a minute. Going back to the technical analysis, the highest part of your technical analysis will be the condition of the bridge. In your inspection reports, the deck, the superstructure, which are the girders, and the substructure, which are the abutments and piers, are all rated on a 0 to 9 scale. 0 being failed, 9 being excellent. Depending on those 3 conditions, you get points on condition. The lower the condition, the more points. Scour is the number one cause of bridge failures in the United States, bridge closures and bridge failures. There is a Scour evaluation on there. That's 6% of your total score. Your posting level, that's your load restriction. The lower the restriction, the less weight that's allowed on the vehicle, the higher the score. 10% of your score will come from that. ADT and detour, the higher the ADT, the higher the score. The lower the detour, the higher the score. So it's kind of a balance. Low ADT, less score.
Okay.
High detour, yes.
T is.
Oh, sorry. Average daily traffic. That's the number of vehicles crossing over the bridge. Sorry, thank you. Good question.
And what is scour?
Scour is undermining of the foundations due to water. Bridge length, and estimated cost. This is just trying to catch more of the low hanging fruit. A smaller bridge will score just a little bit better than a very large bridge. And this is just to get more port and posted bridges off our list. So it's just a way to slightly get more smaller bridges. But again, we are still doing some very large bridges, so. Environmental score, Carissa and her team in our office will go through each application and give a score, environmental score to those. The easiest environmental projects will score the highest, and something like that big bridge I showed you over the Coeur d'Alene River that has a lot of factors to it environmentally will score a little bit lower. That is only 10% of the score, so something as a canal bridge that's pretty easy to do will score very high on the environmental side. Okay. Bridge inspection information will be taken on December 11th. That's the day before applications are due. So if you have a bridge that's on our list right now between December 11th, we'll still add it to the applications. It'll still be eligible to be applied for. So we'll take them up to December 11th. That'll be our cutoff date. ITD doesn't do any inspections in December, so hopefully we'll get added by then. If it does become a poor posted bridge by then, we will know. So. The other 25% I mentioned briefly was the local knowledge. This is exactly the same as it was the last application cycle. There'll be 4 questions, just kind of short questions on the safety of the bridge, so mobility of the bridge, the economic benefit. And the 4th question is just any additional information you want to mention about your project or the bridge, kind of an open-ended question. Each question is only 100 words max, a very short application. These can be online. You can fill out it online, or you could print it and mail it in. You can print it and email it. You can print it, handwrite it, and Western Union or text it to me. We don't care. Just get it to us, okay? Just have it to us by December 12th. The applications are on our website. We're going to do a massive outreach. Since this is our last workshop, we're going to start doing a massive outreach after today to reach out to all the jurisdictions that have eligible bridges, so you will know. These applications will be due December 12th, 2024, 5 o'clock Mountain, 4 o'clock Pacific. Now I'll just go through a list of eligible jurisdictions, and since we're online, I'll just flip through the non-District 3 bridges, but here's Districts 1 and 2. It shows the jurisdictions and the number of bridges that are eligible. So again, you pick 2 of the bridges. So for example, Benewell County has 6 bridges that are eligible that get to pick 2, okay? Here's District 3. So Hawaii County, they have 2 bridges. So they can apply for both those bridges. We expect to see something from them. I'll leave this up here for just a second. Anybody else see their name? District 4 is here. And then District 5 and 6. These are all the jurisdictions I know that have eligible bridges right now. Again, we'll do a massive outreach for these to make sure everybody knows about it. So, are there any questions on the Leading Idaho Local Bridge Program?
Great program.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's been a great program. It's very fast moving. The money's there. We're going through them as fast as we can. So. All right, just give you a rundown on everything that Megan, Kevin, and I have talked about. LRIP, Local Rural Highway applications due December 5th. I'm just gonna say 4 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. The SCDG Federal Aid Rural Program, January 9th, 4 p.m. Free copies in the sound original. Safety program, LSEP, January 23rd, 4 PM, electronic only. And then the Leading Idaho Local Bridge Program, December 12th, 5 PM. Everybody got that? Anybody want to take a picture? I think somebody said earlier, this will be on later, so. All right. Next thing I'm gonna talk about is LTAC technical assistance. I think Megan said it earlier. We're really trying to talk more about and encourage more technical assistance from our local jurisdictions. This is one thing that LTAC does offer, in addition to our grant programs and stuff, LTAC technical assistance. Like I say, it's in our name. So during this past year, LTAC has performed over 2,700 hours of technical assistance to local highway jurisdictions in a lot of different areas, including bridge, the manual uniform traffic control devices, 129 truck routes, local road inventory, speed studies, federal aid, emergency relief, and even federal aid grant assistance. And that's just some of what we do. And we do have a wide range of professional experience in our office. So if you have any questions, definitely give us a call. We can probably help you out. I'll talk a little bit about our bridge technical assistance. As I mentioned earlier, bridges for ITD and FHWA are considered over 20 feet in length. I do help what's called the ITD Bridge Asset Management Group with the local system. They do not do anything with small structures. We do help out with your small structures if you need it. Kevin and I went to Jim County not that long ago, looked at a small structure for them. There's no inspection report for small structures. I highly encourage you to have an inspection program for small structures, but we can help you out with that. We can also help you review the inspection reports. I always point to the maintenance recommendations, and it's typically about the third page. The inspectors will give maintenance recommendations for your bridges, and they'll make them priority, low, medium, high. I highly encourage all jurisdictions to go to that area first thing, see what needs to be fixed. I can help you with the bridge condition. I get CC'd on posting notices, so when IDV analyzes a bridge, we do get posting notices, and those are sent to me as well. If you have questions on those, please let me know. Permitting on 129 routes, if you're interested in a 129 route, we can help you analyze those bridges or help you get assistance in analyzing those bridges. And we can help you with bridge priority. I usually go to one of my favorite websites, gis.ltec.org. It's got a bunch of great maps that our GIS guy in our office handles. This is one of them. It shows every bridge in the state that's over 20 feet. You can go in there and filter for your jurisdiction, your county, your city, and see what bridges are in your jurisdiction. And we can help you look at that and analyze what do you need to prioritize. You know, do I need to replace it? Do I need to repair it? So we can help you out with that on the bridge side as well. If you're interested in spending a little money on your bridges and doing some bridge preservation and maintenance, I highly encourage you to do that. I push that a lot. It really helps extend the life of your bridge. Even simple clean deck overlays and definitely scour erosion repair. With scouring hydraulics, it is by far, like I mentioned before, it's the #1 cause of bridge closures and failures. So you definitely want to fix that before it becomes a major issue. Plan reviews. If you have a bridge project that is not done through LTAC and you want another set of eyes on that, feel free to send that over to us. We will be happy to look over it and give you any comments. Cost estimating, if you need help and how much does it cost to repair or replace the bridge, we can help you with that. And last but not least, environmental and permitting. We want to make sure you get all your required permits in and don't get in trouble with the Army Corps of Engineers or fisheries or Fish and Game or anything like that. So we definitely want to make sure you get all your permits in place before you start digging any holes or anything. So we can help you with that. Yeah.
A little bit about like with 404 and the cultural permitting that's newer,
Yeah.
like kind of what you're seeing that play out.
Yeah, it's different for if it's a local project versus really, and I'm gonna badger, hopefully Chris is not on here, Joel, because I'm gonna badger, but, the Army Corps of Engineers will definitely help out a local more with the permitting and the cultural more than they will help out with an LTAC project. They expect LTAC to handle most of the heavy lifting, especially for cultural, whereas if a local's doing it, then the Army Corps will help a local out more for that cultural work and stuff, so yeah. But there's an expectation on us that we hire everything out So, yeah. Does that sort of answer your question?
And it could all change next year.
Yeah,
Figure.
I have other things about environmental, but this is being recorded, so I'm not gonna say it out loud. I love environmental. Manual on uniform traffic control devices, this is right at Kevin over here in the blue shirt and Brian's alley. If you need any help with signs, type size, placement of signs, it's all in this manual. Pavement markings, speed limit guidance, temporary traffic control. If you have any reviews or have any questions on these issues, please give us a call, Brian or Kevin, pretty knowledgeable in this stuff, they can help you out with that. 129 truck routes, I believe we have some of those in this area, pretty popular. If you have a route you're interested in making a 129 truck route permit for, there is money available for that. You can get up to $10,000 per route to analyze that route. And that needs to be looked at from safety, turning, materials, and bridge. So if you need a route analyzed, you can get up to $10,000 for that. And Kevin, over here is your man, if you need help facilitating that. I think some jurisdictions in this area have done quite a bit of this for agriculture and stuff. Something that's we've always done, but has been more formalized now is our federal grant assistance. Ken Kay in our office has done a lot of work on this, and then Bill Roberson, he's retired from ITD District 1. He helps us with federal grant writing. So if you hit with the IIJ Act, Transportation Act that was passed a few years ago, there's a lot of available grants with that come out constantly. So if you hear of one, hopefully you signed up for our newsletter, and Brody is news blasting these out if we hear about any available grants and that you may be interested in. But yeah, if you're interested in some, we can help with program eligibility, readiness, submittals. There's a lot of environmental justice in there. Climate and environment, which we've applied for, the Protect grant, which falls under the climate and environment quite a bit, which we've tried to get some bridges replaced and some routes done due to forest fires through those grants. If you're going to do the grants yourself, you need some cost estimations done, or traffic and crash data, or cost benefit analysis, which can seem mind-boggling at first, but Ken has done those in his former jobs, and he has a lot of spreadsheets to help out with what he calls the CBAs. Or just general grant applications, we can help out with that as well. So we do offer federal grant assistance if you need help with that. So, are there any questions on the technical assistance side? Mike's going to mention a little bit more technical assistance later, but
Again, I'm Mike Cram. I'm the administrative manager at LTAC. I'm gonna bring this thing home for us this morning. I'll first start about local roads inventory, talking about those, highway distribution account and the road street reports, how those things kind of interrelate. And then I'll mention or highlight our T2 program that we have. Local road inventory, there are two different sections of Idaho code that specify that highway jurisdictions, highway districts, and counties have to provide a local road inventory. Additionally, ITD has to certify all roadways within the state. That includes local roads as well as those on the state system. So you may ask yourself, okay, so it's in code, why else should I care other than it's a law that I report the condition of my roadways? Because a portion of your funding is going to be based on those roadways. So we'll talk about that. Looks like this. So from the highway distribution account, a percentage is based on the improved roadways within your jurisdiction, your percentage of the total roadways within the state on the local system.
But only if you're a highway district
Highway district or a county.
or county.
That's correct. Yeah. So it's important that if you're a highway district or county, you do complete those local road inventories. Greg Wallingford is the local roads coordinator at ITD. The way that what Greg will do is he sends out an email once a year that says, hey, these are the roads that I show within your jurisdiction. Have you made any improvements? Are there any additions or deletions? So that'll be the first email. It's important that you respond to that email when Greg sends it out. You'll respond back to him. And then what Greg will do is Greg will have somebody within the district go drive a percentage of those roadways. They're not driving 100%, they're randomly choosing 5, 10, some percentage, and they'll go drive and note any deficiencies. If there are any deficiencies, then Greg will send a second email to your jurisdiction that says, we noted these deficiencies, please address these, and we'll update our records. So the emails will look something like this. Local road deficiency, they'll tell you what the problem is, as well as maybe a good response, what it might include. And here in red, we give you an example of what a good response was to this particular deficiency. He asked, what is the source of traffic on the road? What does the road provide access to? What priority level is it? In this case, the local highway jurisdiction said, hey, it's a utility access for a power company to inspect and fix their lines. Also recreationalists use it, hunters and ATV people, driving their all-terrain vehicles. Medium priority, no real access to homes or businesses. So it's important to the highway district or local highway jurisdiction, but not super important. Here is another one. In this case, they noticed some signs. Their drive, when they went and inspected, noticed some signs in the right of way. Highway jurisdiction went, talked to the person, found out who put the signs out because the highway jurisdiction did not. Told them they had to remove them from the right of way, and then asked ITD, go redrive those roads, please. We want to make sure we get credit for those roadways. Again, just make sure when Greg sends email, don't ignore it, respond. And if you have questions, make sure to get a hold of Greg.
Does he send those to?
He'll send them to whoever he's got as a point of contact for the local highway jurisdiction. Historically, I would suspect it's probably the clerk. And he's got a point of contact where he's historically always send them. If you want, I can collect your information at the end and I can find out when he sent those, so that if you haven't seen it by X time period, then know to reach out to him. So if that's important, see me after we finish here and we'll make sure to get your information and put the two of you in contact.
Okay, thank you.
So local roads inventory, again, a portion of the local roads inventory, or a piece of local roads inventory is gonna be derived the highway distribution account funding. Part of the road street report, you will also have to come up with, or you will be asked, what was your funding for the highway distribution account last year? We get the questions occasionally, well, where do I get that information? How do I find out how much I got? Or even earlier last week, we got our first quarter payment, and that might have hit your bank account, but it really, with the state's Loomis system, it gets a little bit difficult to understand exactly what those payments are for. And you just get a dollar amount in your bank account, you're like, okay, I got paid, great, I guess. The information about the highway distribution account, your payments can be obtained from ITD's website. This is a copy of their website. This is what it'll look like when you first get on their landing page. Their address right here, itdidaho.gov. There'll be 6 tiles. Tiles will be a little bit different depending on your particular computer, but basically you will always want this middle tile that says ITD projects. Because within projects, they're also going to have funding information. I'll show you how you get that. Below that main project header here is a click for more information tab. So if you click that tab right there, it will expand the drop down. And one of the options will be funding revenue, local roads, and MPOs. So when you click on that, funding revenue, local roads, MPOs, this is the web page from ITD's website that will open up. Notice there's some tabs across the top. One of them is highway distribution, HDA revenue, highway distribution account revenue. Before we talk about that though, let's talk about the local roads. Megan.
Just a comment in the chat, our inventory reports from ITD just came this month for our review.
Okay, and so I would say if you haven't received it thus far, we need to get a hold of Greg. So when you click on that local roads funding tab from ITD's webpage, this will open up. This is the page that will open up. HDA revenue will be there. Also notice a tab that we'll talk about for a second here called local roads. That, if you click on that tab, and I don't have an example in this presentation today, but you click on that, that'll open a spreadsheet that'll show you every local highway jurisdiction in the state and what their total lane miles are, improved and unimproved. So if you want to see if you're getting credit for everything that you do, you can click on that and at least see what they show for previous years. Additionally, on that tab is the average revenue per lane mile. In the past, on occasion, I've had a phone call where they call up and a local highway jurisdiction call up and say, hey, we're entering a cooperative agreement with a neighboring highway jurisdiction. We're gonna take over 5 miles of their roadway. How much additional funding might we receive if we do that? This will tell you, on average, what those 5 miles might generate in revenue. And then you can figure out how much you need to negotiate an agreement with that neighboring highway jurisdiction for that maintenance or whatever. So back to the HDA tab. HDA tab will have both the current quarter right here at the top, as well as previous years. This was done before the first quarter for FY25 hit. So now if we were to go out there today, this would show 2024 in the full year. And then your current quarter, the payment that just came last week would show up on this spreadsheet. So there's the first one, that's the current quarter, previous years. When you click on those, it's gonna open a spreadsheet that is consistent of 5 different sections, each of them color coded. The first section is original highway user revenue, HUR. That's the yellow section shown here at the top. It'll list, again, since we just got 1 quarter's payment so far in FY25, the current spreadsheet will just show 1 quarter. This is what you got in October of 2024. Boom. The next section is the blue section, new House Bill 312 highway user revenue. In 2015, Idaho legislature passed legislation allocating additional transportation funding, primarily based on electric vehicle registration, but there were other things, and that was House Bill 312. So when the state controller makes those HDA payments, they will separate out those 2 different pots of money, if you will. And they will just show as 2 different payments in your checking account or wherever you receive those payments. The next section of the HDA spreadsheet is this green section. And it's general fund. If the Idaho legislature has approved any general fund monies for transportation, that's where those will show in the spreadsheet. Historically, they have in the past. Originally, this shows 4 quarters of payments, with the first 3 quarters being smaller and the 4th quarter being larger. That's because the first year that they approved money for transportation, they said they wanted it paid by each quarter. Future and subsequent approvals have had that payment all in that first quarter. So you would get it all in the first quarter, boom, paid right up front. So in July, we did get general fund monies authorized by the legislature. Your July payment did include general fund monies. Whether there'll be future payments, it's unknown. It requires legislative action. It is currently in ITD's budget that will be presented this legislative session. It'll be up to the legislature whether they approve that budget or approve those appropriations. If so, July of next year, you may get the general fund monies. I would not advocate for budgeting those general fund monies since they are unknown and not guaranteed. I wouldn't build my budget around it. You can do the stuff that you received in July because you did get that, but can't guarantee next July necessarily you're gonna get it. And then the last section of the highway distribution account spreadsheet is this red section right here, and that's sales tax. Again, a couple of years ago, Idaho legislature said they wanted to use some sales tax money for transportation purposes. And the way they wrote the legislation is the first $80 million of that sales tax pot collected goes towards, or goes to ITD. And then after that pot or amount exceeds 80 million, then it starts being shared with locals and ITD. So, we'll go back. You will not see monies generally until the third quarter of the fiscal year, because that's how long it takes to collect that 80 million. And usually the third quarter will be smaller, and then the fourth quarter larger. And then the final section of the highway distribution account spreadsheet is the total. There'll be a section at the end that totals the entire quarter, the entire year, if you're looking at previous year, and it's just the sum of all those different sections. Talk about the road and street report, unless there are any questions about that spreadsheet. Okay, so the annual road and street report has always been hosted on the state controller's website with a link from ITD's webpage or LTAC's webpage to that. It's still hosted by the state, but they moved it from the controller's website to the open government portion of the state of Idaho website. I'll show you how to find where that is at here in a second off of our webpage, or again, you can go to ITD's webpage as well. So if you go to our webpage, first thing you need to do, this is our webpage, there'll be a tab called Resources. You'll click on that, that's across the top. When you click on Resources, the first one to open up, or there'll be a list of resources that open up. First one on top is Annual Road and Street Finance Report. You click on that, this is the page you will come to. So this is the Annual Road and Street Finance Report off of ITD. Okay, off of LTAC's.
Good point.
LTAC's website, yeah, they like it. Right here is the link to where you can find that address. When you click on that link, it'll open up something like, that looks like this. If you have an open government ID logon and password, you would enter them here. If you do not, you would click on the tab here that isn't highlighted, and that's where you would sign up. So when you log on, it'll take you to the road street report. Couple things, the format has been changed slightly, it's been improved. So the format's been improved, we've worked with ITD, they've made some changes to that. Couple of things to note. First of all, anywhere that there is an asterisk, like here, there, those are lines that require information. Have to put something in that line, or the road street report won't accept it, if you will. It'll bear out. Used to be, if it didn't apply, you could just skip it. No longer does that work. You have to put a 0 in those fields that do not apply to you. Again, you're using whole dollars. We don't care about cents, round to the nearest dollar. Some of the line numbers have changed. So what used to be line 12 might not necessarily be line 12 on this year's report. So just make sure you look at that. Another thing that has changed is it now will sum the total of your lines for you, so you don't have to do math. 50,000, 10,000, 25,000, sums to 85,000. The best thing that probably happened is you can now get in. It used to be you'd have to get in, complete the report, and if you didn't complete the report in one sitting, you were kind of messed up. Now it'll save wherever you stop. You can get out, come in, go back into it as many times as you want. And finally, the best thing probably about all is everywhere that there is a question mark, if you click on that, it will give you an explanation of what goes in that line. And it will tell you, as an example, in this case, it'll tell you that it's the red section. Sales tax is the red section of the spreadsheet off of ITD's webpage. So no longer do you have to figure out what goes where, because it'll tell you that's the red section, that's the green section, that's the yellow section. Everything a lot easier to understand. Any questions on the road street report? All right, so let's talk about our T2 program. Some of you may or may not be aware, we have a training program that we go out and provide training on a variety of topics. And we travel throughout the state and do that. For a nominal fee, basically, the cost of the classes are subsidized by the T2 program itself. And we'll get more into that in just a second. First, we'd like to announce that we're very excited to have a new T2 director joined us towards the end of July. Hit the road running and has been going ever since, and that is Cheney Rose. Cheney used to be a part-time instructor for us, now he's full-time T2 director and instructor, technical assistance. Cheney has 25 years of roadway maintenance experience. Started with a highway district, worked his way up, started entry level, and was a superintendent for the highway district when he left. Cheney is available for questions should you have any governing road maintenance or anything along those lines. He fills a niche that we previously haven't had. We've had engineers on staff, but we haven't had anybody that brings that roadway maintenance experience with him. Suggest if you get into a situation, you maybe want to know, hey, what have you done in the past? Or have you ever dealt with this? Give Cheney a call. If we can arrange for it, we'll have him come out, visit your site, look at what you've got, give you some suggestions, or at least explain how he's dealt with it in the past. Maybe just another option to look at. T2 program itself, we go out and provide training, like I mentioned, classes for about 9 to 10 months out of the year. Hot and heavy in the fall right now. And we'll get into where we've got some upcoming classes, if you will. And then again in the spring. Something about summer, nobody wants to come to class. Everybody wants to either take vacation or they're busy doing their maintenance work. I don't know. So we offer classes both in person and virtual. Variety of topics, safety, professional development, construction, and maintenance techniques. We have 2 different certification programs, the Road Scholar and Road Master. I kind of relate them to an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree, if you will. Both programs have a certain number of core classes you have to take, specific core classes that are outlined for you. And then you have a certain number of electives that you can choose within those programs for those certifications. You have 4 years to complete each one of those. And then upon completion, we come to your highway district, your county, your city, and provide you with a certificate and recognize your completion of that program in front of your council members, your city council, your highway commissioners, etc. So along with that, one of the programs, there's an engraved Leatherman with the certificate. The other, you get a pretty nice Carhartt jacket that's embroidered. We've also developed a leadership program. That was as a result of local highway jurisdictions coming to us saying, hey, a lot of our road maintenance people are older, they're getting near retirement. We've got this gap, if you will, between young people just coming in and new people starting to leave. There's no real people in the middle. Can you develop some classes so that maybe we can help those younger people who maybe don't have the skill sets they need just yet, or maybe they need a little bit of help when they get in those supervisory positions. So we've developed a leadership program, 3 different modules: transition to leadership, mastery management, leadership communication. There are several classes within each of those modules. So some idea of classes, we're going to run all the way up almost to Christmas. I've got a couple classes coming up. We see one on the 20th of November in Boise on winter maintenance. 3rd of December, got a traffic control supervisor also in Boise. Some online. Excuse me, basically travel throughout the state. See some of the others. Those are some in District 4, 5 and 6. Most of the classes in 5 and 6 are mostly done. We got some coming up in Pocatello in November. Again, that was District 3. Also part of the T2 program, we have a how to build a better mousetrap contest. It's dovetails into a federal level contest. It's to highlight innovations or improvements that you may have done in your local highway jurisdiction. There is both an agency award and an individual award. We encourage submissions for these. I think we don't always get a lot of participation. I think, some people may sit in their, their highway district or their county and go, this isn't really that creative. This isn't that innovative. You'd be surprised. Stuff that you may think is common sense, other people may not be doing. So we'll highlight this. City of Nampa won for the, agency award. What they submitted was they've got a street sweeper that goes along, and if it sees weeds, it sprays weeds at the same time. When the weeds stop, it stops spraying, they continue with their sweeping. Show a short clip of that, we'll see if the audio works. For the individual award for this year, it was DJ Price from the city of Rupert. He submitted a bridge expansion joint that was using alternate materials and methodologies, which cut down on the amount of time that the bridge was closed and allowed him to do the repair earlier in the season. Saved time and money, and again, less inconvenience to the public. Scott talked about the technical assistance. Now I get to talk about the less technical assistance that we offer through the T2 program. T2 program has things that they loan out, equipment, laser speed guns, traffic counters. I think we've got 8 or 10 of them. They're constantly in use. If you need a traffic counter though, get a hold of us. We'll let you know when the next one's available. We'll arrange to have either available for you to pick up or somebody possibly even to drop it off at your location. Retroreflectivity kits. We did these several years ago. They all got handed out. We've done a new batch. We'll see the zipper is strapped. There we go. What these are is they are pieces of sign blank that you would clip with the alligator clip that's also in the kit to the particular sign at night. They shine a flashlight on it and you see if the retroreflectivity meets standards. These are set to minimum standards, so if it doesn't shine brighter than that, then it's time for the sign to be replaced. Again, we did these in the past. We've done another batch of them now. If you're going up to the local highway convention up in Coeur d'Alene coming up in November, they'll be available, one per agency. If you're not going, get a hold of us. We'll make sure we get one to your agency. Scott also talked about Ken and Bill providing grant assistance. That's something that we're really putting a lot of effort into this year. If you need help with a grant, please let us know. We've got those people dedicated to assisting or seeing what they can do to help with your grant application. Like the line says at the bottom, if there's anything that your agency could use that you don't have, that you think maybe other agencies might benefit from, maybe you can't justify, maybe you only use it once or twice a year and you can't justify the cost, get a hold of us. I can't say for sure that we'll be able to get it and we'll be able to afford it, but we'll look at it. If it's something we think we can somehow swing and we can get other people that would use as well, let us know. That's how some of this other stuff kind of came about. Get a hold of us, see what we can do. There's Cheney's contact information. Nancy Zebarth, she handles the classes for us. If you want to sign up for a class, need help with that, she can help with that. You want to know where you are in the program, hey, and I want to see, how many classes I have left for Road Scholar, Road Master, she can help. The last thing I'll mention too with the T2 program, if you want a class at your location, maybe you can't get into our classes, they're filled up or something, get a hold of us. If you can get 8 or 10 people from either your agency or surrounding agencies, and we have an instructor available, especially if you have a location where we can do it, we'll add a class. We'll add a class specifically for you or for your location. If we can make it work, we will. There's our QR code. If you're not getting our email blast that Brody here is sending out, scan that, get on our list. He sends announcements about these workshops. He sends announcements about funding opportunities, sends announcements about what's going on. I mean, basically, he's blasting out stuff, as often as there is information to pass along.